Have you ever wondered why, despite all your efforts, you still feel weighed down by invisible burdens? Why do we hold on to things that no longer serve us? Why is it so difficult to let go of negative thoughts, past mistakes, or relationships that drain us? These questions aren't just theoretical, they are struggles we face in our everyday lives. Whether it's overthinking, resentment, or an attachment to control, we often cling to what hurts us the most. Imagine you're carrying a heavy backpack full of rocks, and each rock represents a burden, a worry, or an emotional attachment. The more you hold on to, the harder it is to move forward. But what if you quietly took out those rocks, one by one, and let them fall away? How much lighter would you feel? In silence, we can free ourselves from these weights, and in this video, we're going to explore how to do just that. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, your guide to unlocking peace through Buddhist wisdom. In today's video, we'll be discussing the things you must delete from your life in silence to find true peace and inner freedom. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of you have subscribed. So please, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue bringing valuable insights to you. Now, let's dive into how letting go in silence can change your life. In Buddhism, one of the key teachings is that attachment leads to suffering. We often think of attachment as something emotional or physical, but it can be much more subtle. Attachment to thoughts, to outcomes, or to our identity creates mental clutter that weighs us down. Deleting these attachments doesn't mean giving up on life. It means freeing ourselves from the unnecessary baggage that stops us from being fully present. This process of letting go is not loud or dramatic. It happens quietly, in the stillness of our minds. It's about learning to detach from the thoughts and emotions that no longer serve us. Through mindfulness, we can observe these attachments and slowly release them, allowing space for peace and clarity. When we practice letting go in silence, we are not running away from our problems. Instead, we're acknowledging them, understanding them, and gently allowing them to leave our minds and hearts. So why is it important to delete these things in silence? Silence allows us to hear what's truly going on within us. Without the noise of distractions, we can tune into our deepest needs and desires. In silence, we can find the strength to release what no longer serves us without needing approval or validation from others. This is a personal journey, a quiet, inward path to peace. The first step is awareness. Pay attention to the thoughts that constantly replay in your mind. Are they serving you, or are they keeping you stuck in the past? By simply observing them without judgment, you begin the process of letting go. Remember, silence is your ally in this journey. It's in the quiet moments that we find our deepest truths. Stay with us as we explore more ways to release and free yourself from the silent burdens you carry. Parting with negative thoughts, cleaning the mind's temple. Every day, our minds are bombarded with a flood of thoughts. Some are uplifting, while others can feel like dark clouds blocking the sun. Negative thoughts can creep in and take root, causing us to feel anxious, sad, or even angry. Have you ever found yourself replaying a mistake over and over, letting it overshadow your present moment? It's like carrying a heavy load that only grows with time. But what if we could clear out this negativity and create a more peaceful mental space? In Buddhist practice, the mind is often compared to a temple. Just as we wouldn't let dirt and clutter accumulate in a sacred space, we shouldn't allow negative thoughts to linger in our minds. Cleaning our mind's temple requires conscious effort, just as cleaning a physical space does. This means recognizing negative thoughts and gently letting them go, rather than allowing them to settle in and create chaos. Let's explore how we can start this process of cleansing our minds. The first step is awareness. Notice when negative thoughts arise. Are they rooted in fear, self-doubt, or past regrets? When we shine a light on these thoughts, we begin to understand their nature. For example, if you find yourself thinking, "I'm not good enough," take a moment to pause. Is this thought true? Where does it come from? Often, negative thoughts are based on old stories we tell ourselves. Stories that are no longer relevant or true. Once we've identified these thoughts, we can practice a technique called mindfulness. Mindfulness means being fully present in the moment, without judgment. When a negative thought arises, instead of fighting it or trying to push it away, simply observe it. Imagine it as a cloud passing through the sky. You don't have to hold on to it, just let it drift by. This practice helps us detach from negative thoughts, preventing them from taking root in our minds. Another helpful practice is to challenge these negative thoughts. Ask yourself, is there evidence to support this thought? Often, we find that negative thoughts are exaggerated or unfounded. For example, if you think, "I'll never succeed," remind yourself of past successes, no matter how small. This shift in perspective can help dismantle the power of negativity. You can also create positive affirmations to counteract negative thoughts. An affirmation is a positive statement that helps you reshape your mindset. For instance, instead of saying, "I'm not worthy," replace it with, "I am deserving of love and happiness." Repeat these affirmations daily, allowing them to replace the negative thoughts that once held you back. Furthermore, surrounding ourselves with positivity can make a significant difference. Seek out uplifting content, books, music, or even people who inspire you. When you fill your environment with positive influences, it becomes easier to foster a more optimistic mindset. The Buddha taught that we become what we think. Therefore, nurturing positive thoughts is essential for cultivating a healthy mind. Another effective way to cleanse the mind is through meditation. Meditation provides a quiet space to observe your thoughts without judgment. It teaches us that thoughts are temporary. They come and go like waves in the ocean. By regularly meditating, we can train our minds to let go of negativity, making it easier to return to a state of calm and clarity. As you engage in this cleansing process, remember to be gentle with yourself. Change takes time, and it's natural to have setbacks. When you notice negative thoughts creeping back in, don't be hard on yourself. Acknowledge them, practice mindfulness, and remind yourself that this is part of the journey. Every step counts, no matter how small. It's also important to reflect on the impact of your thoughts on your emotions and actions. Negative thoughts can lead to feelings of frustration or sadness, which may, in turn, affect how you interact with others. By cleansing your mind, you not only improve your own well-being, but also enhance your relationships. A clear mind leads to more compassionate and understanding interactions with those around you. Lastly, remember that the process of parting with negative thoughts is ongoing. It's not a one-time task, but rather a continuous practice. Each day presents an opportunity to check in with your mind, to recognize what's there, and to choose to let go of what no longer serves you. Embrace this journey with patience and love, knowing that every moment spent cleaning your mind's temple is a step toward greater peace. As we move forward in this exploration, remember that you have the power to create a sanctuary within yourself. By letting go of negativity, you are opening up space for joy, love, and understanding. Your mind is a precious space. Treat it with the care and respect it deserves. Together, let's delve deeper into the next essential step in this journey of transformation. Releasing attachment, the path to true freedom. Imagine you're holding a rope tightly in your hand. As you pull harder, the rope burns your skin, causing pain. But what if you just let go? The rope would slip away, and the pain would stop. This is the essence of attachment. The more we cling to things, the more we suffer. Yet, most of us keep holding on, believing that letting go will lead to loss. But in reality, true freedom comes from release, not from grasping. In Buddhism, attachment is one of the root causes of suffering. We hold on to desires, relationships, material possessions, even our own identities, believing that these things will bring us happiness. But the truth is, the more tightly we cling, the more we suffer. Why? Because nothing is permanent. Everything in life is constantly changing, and when we attach ourselves to something that is destined to change, we set ourselves up for disappointment, frustration, and pain. Now, let's talk about how this plays out in everyday life. Think about something in your life that you've been holding on to. A relationship that has ended, a job that no longer brings you joy, or even a version of yourself that no longer exists. These attachments weigh us down, making it difficult to move forward. When we cling to the past or to a certain outcome, we create suffering for ourselves. But when we release our grip, we create space for peace, growth, and true freedom. Letting go of attachment doesn't mean we stop caring about the people or things in our lives. It means we stop needing them to be a certain way in order for us to feel happy or fulfilled. For example, In relationships, attachment can often lead to control. We try to control how the other person behaves, how they feel about us, or how the relationship unfolds. But when we release that need for control, we allow the relationship to grow naturally, without the weight of expectations. Buddhism teaches us to practice non-attachment by recognizing that everything is impermanent. This doesn't mean we should live without joy or love. It means we should embrace these things fully, knowing that they are part of the ever-changing flow of life. When we love without attachment, we experience a deeper, more meaningful connection because we are not trying to control or hold onto the other person. Instead, we allow them to be who they are, and we allow ourselves to be fully present in the relationship. Another area where attachment shows up is in our desire for material possessions. We live in a world that constantly tells us that happiness comes from acquiring more. More money, more things, more success. But the reality is, the more we have, the more we fear losing it. This creates a cycle of attachment and fear. We become so attached to our possessions and our status that we forget to enjoy life as it is. Think about how often you worry about losing something. Whether it's your job, your home, or your reputation, these fears are rooted in attachment. We believe that without these things, we will be less happy or less valuable. But when we learn to release attachment, we realize that our true value doesn't come from external things. It comes from within. The less we cling to material possessions, the more space we create for inner peace. So, how do we begin to release attachment? It starts with awareness. Take a moment to reflect on the things in your life that you feel attached to. Ask yourself, is this attachment bringing me joy, or is it causing me suffering? Often, we don't even realize how tightly we're holding on to things until we stop and reflect. Once we become aware of our attachments, we can begin the process of letting go. One powerful tool for releasing attachment is mindfulness. When we practice mindfulness, we learn to observe our thoughts and feelings without getting caught up in them. Instead of reacting to every desire or fear that arises, we can take a step back and simply notice what's happening in our minds. This creates space between us and our attachments, allowing us to see them more clearly. For example, let's say you notice that you're feeling anxious about losing something, a relationship, a job, or a possession. Instead of trying to suppress that anxiety or cling even harder, simply observe it. Acknowledge that the feeling is there, but don't get swept up in it. By practicing mindfulness, you can start to loosen your grip on the things you're attached to and begin to experience the freedom that comes from letting go. Another important aspect of releasing attachment is acceptance. Life is full of uncertainty, and things will not always go the way we want them to. When we resist this reality, we create suffering for ourselves. But when we accept that change is inevitable, we can begin to release our attachment to specific outcomes. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means embracing the flow of life as it is, without trying to control it. This practice of letting go can be applied to all areas of our lives. Whether it's a relationship, a material possession, or a belief about who we are, releasing attachment allows us to experience life more fully. When we are not bound by the need to control or hold on to things, we can live with greater freedom, joy, and peace. Let's consider a simple example. Imagine you're walking in a beautiful garden and you see a flower that you love. If you try to pick the flower and take it with you, it will eventually wither and die. But if you leave the flower where it is, you can enjoy its beauty in that moment, without the need to possess it. This is the essence of non-attachment, appreciating the beauty of life without needing to hold on to it. In Buddhist teachings, this is often referred to as the middle way. It's not about rejecting life or withdrawing from the world. It's about finding a balance between desire and detachment. When we walk the middle way, we can enjoy the pleasures of life without being ruled by them. We can love without clinging, and we can live without the constant fear of loss. One of the biggest challenges in releasing attachment is the fear of the unknown. We often hold on to things because we're afraid of what will happen if we let go. But the truth is, by letting go, we create space for new opportunities, new experiences, and new growth. When we release attachment, we open ourselves up to the infinite possibilities that life has to offer. So, the next time you find yourself clinging to something, whether it's a thought, a relationship, or a material possession, ask yourself, What would happen if I let go? You might be surprised by the peace and freedom that comes from simply releasing your grip. Remember, releasing attachment is not something that happens overnight. It's a practice, a journey of becoming more aware of the things we cling to and gently loosening our hold on them. The more we practice letting go, the more we experience the freedom that comes with living in the present moment, without the weight of unnecessary attachments. In silence, we can find the strength to release the things that no longer serve us. And in that release, we discover a deeper, truer sense of peace and freedom. Erasing toxic relationships, cultivating compassionate distance. In our journey through life, we often encounter people who uplift and inspire us, but there are also those who drain our energy and create chaos in our lives. These are what we call toxic relationships. They can be subtle, sometimes disguised as friendships or even family ties, but their impact on our well-being is significant. Toxic relationships can come in many forms. They might be those that leave us feeling anxious, guilty, or constantly on edge. You might find yourself walking on eggshells, trying to please someone who never seems satisfied. Or perhaps you know someone who constantly puts you down or makes you feel less than you are. In both cases, the interaction becomes harmful, and over time, it can chip away at your self-esteem and happiness. As we learn from Buddhist teachings, attachment and craving can lead to suffering. It's easy to cling to relationships out of fear. Fear of loneliness, fear of change, or fear of being alone. We might feel obligated to maintain these connections, thinking that we can help the other person or that things will get better. However, it's essential to recognize when a relationship is no longer serving your growth or happiness. Think of a garden. You tend to your plants, watering them, ensuring they get enough sunlight and nurturing them to grow. But if you notice a weed creeping in, what happens? If you don't remove that weed, it will eventually choke the life out of your plants, stealing their nutrients and space. Relationships can be similar. If you allow toxic influences to take root, they can smother your joy and peace. So how do we cultivate compassionate distance? It starts with awareness. Recognize the patterns in your relationships. Are you consistently feeling drained after interacting with someone? Do you find yourself filled with negativity or doubt after spending time with them? Acknowledging these feelings is the first step toward change. Once you identify toxic relationships, it's crucial to set healthy boundaries. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are guidelines that protect your emotional space. Communicate your needs clearly and kindly. For example, if a friend tends to criticize you harshly, let them know how their words affect you. A simple statement like, "I feel hurt when you say those things," can open the door to a more compassionate dialogue. It's essential to approach this process with compassion, not just for yourself, but for the other person as well. Remember that everyone has their struggles, and often, toxic behavior stems from their pain. By acknowledging this, you can create a space for understanding without compromising your well-being. However, there may come a time when compassion means letting go. This can be one of the most challenging decisions to make, especially if the person has been in your life for a long time. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you recognize that the relationship is unhealthy for both of you. You might choose to distance yourself gradually, allowing both parties to heal and grow apart. Letting go of toxic relationships can feel like shedding a heavy coat in the summer. At first, it may feel uncomfortable or even scary. You might wonder what your life will look like without that person. But once you release that weight, you'll find a newfound freedom. You create space for healthier relationships to flourish, ones that uplift, inspire, and encourage you to be your true self. In the silence that follows this release, you'll discover a deeper sense of self. You'll have the time and energy to invest in relationships that nourish your spirit. This is where the beauty of connection truly lies. Instead of surrounding yourself with negativity, seek out those who resonate with your values and dreams. Buddhism teaches us that true compassion involves both kindness toward others and self-respect. When you prioritize your well-being, you are better equipped to help those around you. It's a cycle of positivity. By cultivating healthy relationships, you contribute to a more harmonious environment for everyone. Moreover, as you practice compassionate distance, you'll learn to approach every interaction with mindfulness. Ask yourself, is this relationship supporting my growth? Is it rooted in love and respect? These questions can guide you toward healthier connections. Remember, not every relationship is meant to last a lifetime. Some are transient, serving a purpose before they fade away. Embrace this impermanence as part of life's journey. The lessons learned from these connections can help shape who you are and who you will become. In moments of silence, reflect on your relationships. Take time to journal or meditate on the people in your life. Who makes you feel light and joyful? Who brings heaviness and strife? This practice of introspection can illuminate the path toward healthier connections. Lastly, surround yourself with individuals who share your values and aspirations. Seek out communities that encourage growth and understanding. When you step away from toxicity, you open the door to genuine connections built on trust and mutual respect. As you embark on this journey of erasing toxic relationships, remember that it's not about casting blame or judgment. It's about honoring your truth and creating space for love and positivity. Embrace the freedom that comes with setting boundaries, and don't shy away from the necessary discomfort of change. In closing, we must recognize that toxic relationships can act as mirrors, reflecting our fears and insecurities. By facing these reflections with compassion and courage, we can transform our understanding of ourselves and others. In the stillness of letting go, you will find the strength to cultivate relationships that uplift, inspire, and bring you closer to your true self. Trust this process, and you will see how life can flourish in the absence of toxicity. Removing the desire for control, embracing life's flow. In our fast-paced world, the desire for control often feels like a comforting illusion. We think that by controlling every aspect of our lives, our relationships, our careers, and even our emotions, we can ensure happiness and security. But what if I told you that this desire to control is one of the greatest sources of suffering in our lives? In Buddhism, we learn that true peace comes not from control but from embracing the natural flow of life. Think about it. How often do you plan every detail of your day, only to have things turn out completely differently? You might have an important meeting lined up, and then a sudden storm cancels your plans. Or perhaps you've meticulously organized a family gathering, only to have someone fall ill at the last minute. In these moments, frustration and disappointment can creep in. You feel the urge to grasp tightly onto your plans and force them into reality. But life has its own rhythm, and resisting that flow often leads to more pain. The Buddha taught us that life is impermanent. Everything around us is in constant change, and that includes our own thoughts, feelings, and circumstances. When we cling to control, we deny this essential truth. We create a tension within ourselves, desperately trying to hold on to what is fleeting. This can lead to anxiety, frustration, and even anger when things don't go our way. The more we resist, the more we suffer. Let's take a moment to reflect. Think about a time when you tried to control a situation. Maybe you wanted a friend to see things your way, or you felt compelled to fix a problem for someone else. How did that work out for you? Often, the harder we try to control, the more we push people away. Instead of fostering connection, we create distance, frustration, and misunderstandings. To embrace life's flow, we must first recognize that we are not separate from it. We are part of a vast, interconnected web of existence. Just like a river, life flows in its own direction. We can choose to fight against the current, exhausting ourselves in the process, or we can learn to float along, trusting that the water will carry us where we need to go. This doesn't mean giving up our goals or desires. It means cultivating an attitude of openness and adaptability. So how do we begin to release our desire for control? The practice of mindfulness can be a powerful tool. When you notice yourself trying to control a situation, take a deep breath. Acknowledge the feeling, but don't let it consume you. Observe it, and then gently remind yourself that it's okay not to have everything figured out. You can simply allow things to unfold as they are meant to. Another practice is to cultivate acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean resignation. Rather, it's an acknowledgement of reality. When you accept things as they are, you free yourself from the struggle against the inevitable. Life is full of surprises, some good, some not so good. Embracing this unpredictability can bring a sense of peace and freedom. Let's explore a simple analogy. Consider a leaf floating on a river. The leaf has no control over where the current takes it. Instead, it moves gracefully with the water, experiencing each twist and turn without resistance. In our own lives, we can learn to be like that leaf. When we let go of the desire to control, we allow ourselves to be carried by life's current. We may find ourselves in unexpected places, but these experiences can lead to growth and new opportunities. As you practice letting go of control, it's essential to cultivate trust in yourself, in others, and in the universe. Trust that you have the inner strength to navigate whatever challenges come your way. Trust that your loved ones are capable of their own journeys, even if they don't align with your expectations. Trust that the universe has a way of guiding us, even when we can't see the path ahead. Remember, the desire for control often stems from fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of loss, and fear of failure can drive us to cling tightly to our plans and expectations. But by recognizing these fears and addressing them with compassion, we can begin to release our grip. Instead of letting fear dictate our actions, we can choose to act from a place of love and openness. Take a moment to reflect on your own fears. What do you find yourself trying to control the most? Is it your relationships, your job, or perhaps your self-image? Acknowledging these fears is the first step toward transformation. From there, you can practice letting go, allowing life to unfold in its own beautiful way. As we learn to let go of the desire for control, we also become more attuned to the present moment. Life happens now, not in the past or the future. When we are too focused on controlling outcomes, we miss the beauty of the here and now. The laughter of a friend, the warmth of the sun on our skin, or the simple pleasure of a good meal. All of these moments are treasures waiting to be savored. In conclusion, removing the desire for control is a journey of self-discovery and acceptance. It invites us to embrace life with open arms, allowing ourselves to flow with its currents rather than resist them. As we learn to trust ourselves and the world around us, we can experience greater joy and peace. Remember, the key to a fulfilled life lies not in control, but in surrendering to the natural flow of existence. So, take a deep breath, relax your grip, and let life surprise you. Letting go of resentment, the liberation of forgiveness. In our lives, we often find ourselves holding on to grudges or feelings of resentment. These feelings can build up inside us like a heavy stone, making our hearts feel heavy and our minds restless. But what if we told you that letting go of resentment could set you free? Let's explore how this process works and why it is essential for our inner peace. Resentment is like drinking poison and hoping the other person suffers. It does not hurt them. Instead, it harms us. When we hold on to anger or bitterness, we carry a burden that affects our mood, our relationships, and our overall happiness. Just think about a time when someone hurt you. Perhaps it was a friend who betrayed your trust, a family member who let you down, or even a stranger who acted cruelly. The sting of their actions may linger in your mind long after the event, trapping you in a cycle of negative emotions. Buddhism teaches us that holding on to resentment is a form of attachment. We become attached to the pain and anger, allowing it to define our experiences. This attachment creates a barrier between us and our happiness. Imagine walking through a beautiful garden, but being unable to appreciate it because you are focused on the weeds around you. Resentment works in the same way. It blocks our ability to see the beauty and joy in life. So, how do we begin to let go of resentment? The first step is acknowledging our feelings. It's okay to feel hurt or angry. These feelings are natural responses to being wronged. Instead of pushing them away or pretending they don't exist, we can welcome them like guests in our hearts. Sit quietly for a moment and feel the weight of your resentment. What does it feel like? Is it a tightness in your chest or a knot in your stomach? Recognizing these feelings allows us to understand their presence in our lives. Once we have acknowledged our feelings, we can start the journey toward forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or condoning the actions that hurt us. It means releasing the hold that those actions have on us. Picture it like this. You're holding a hot coal in your hand, thinking that it will somehow hurt the person who wronged you. In reality, you are the one suffering from the heat. Letting go of resentment is like dropping that coal. It frees you from the pain you've been holding on to. One powerful practice in Buddhism is to reflect on the nature of suffering. Remember that everyone experiences pain and makes mistakes, including ourselves. When we can see the humanity in others, even those who have hurt us, we can begin to cultivate compassion. This doesn't mean we have to let people back into our lives if they are harmful. Rather, it's about freeing ourselves from the chains of resentment. A helpful method is to visualize the person you feel resentment towards. Imagine them standing before you. As you breathe in, acknowledge the hurt they caused you. With each breath out, imagine sending them compassion and understanding. You might even silently say, "I forgive you, and I wish you well." This exercise helps to soften our hearts and slowly releases the bitterness we hold. Another essential aspect of letting go of resentment is recognizing that we cannot control others' actions or responses. When we anchor our happiness to someone else's behavior, we give away our power. The moment we decide to reclaim that power by choosing forgiveness, we start the process of healing. Our happiness is not dependent on whether others apologize or change. It comes from within. It's also vital to practice self-forgiveness. Sometimes, we hold resentment toward ourselves for past mistakes. We might replay situations in our minds, wishing we had acted differently or made better choices. Instead of beating ourselves up, we can learn from our experiences. Self-forgiveness is a crucial step in the healing process. Acknowledge what you've learned and allow yourself to move forward without judgment. As you continue on this path, remember that forgiveness is a journey, not a destination. There may be times when old feelings of resentment resurface. When this happens, gently remind yourself of your commitment to let go. You might even need to revisit your visualization practice or affirmations. Each time you choose to release resentment, you grow stronger in your ability to forgive. In the spirit of Buddhism, consider the concept of impermanence. Just as the seasons change, so do our feelings and experiences. Holding on to resentment only clings us to a past that no longer exists. Embrace the idea that everything, including our emotions, is temporary. This awareness can help us navigate our feelings with greater ease. Finally, creating a gratitude practice can also aid in letting go of resentment. Each day, take a moment to reflect on what you are grateful for. Focusing on the positive aspects of your life can shift your mindset and help you see beyond your resentments. Gratitude opens our hearts, allowing us to release negativity and welcome joy. In conclusion, letting go of resentment is a profound act of self-liberation. It allows us to reclaim our happiness, heal old wounds, and cultivate a sense of peace within. By acknowledging our feelings, practicing forgiveness, and embracing impermanence, we can free ourselves from the burdens of resentment. This journey may take time and effort, but with each step, we move closer to a more serene and fulfilling life. Remember, it's not about the other person. It's about your peace. Choose to let go, and watch how the world around you begins to change. Abandoning fear, finding courage in uncertainty. Fear is a common experience. It creeps into our thoughts, shaping our decisions and limiting our potential. But what if I told you that fear is not a wall, but a door? A door that leads to freedom, growth, and self-discovery. In this part, we'll explore how to abandon fear and embrace the courage that lies within each of us. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast, beautiful forest. You can see the trees swaying in the wind, and the sunlight filtering through the leaves, inviting you in. But instead of stepping forward, you hesitate. Fear whispers to you, warning you of the unknown, of what might happen if you venture into the woods. You might stumble, get lost, or encounter dangers you never anticipated. But what if you could silence that fear, take a deep breath, and step into the forest anyway? What wonders might you discover? In Buddhism, fear is often seen as a misunderstanding of reality. We tend to cling to our fears, believing they protect us. But in truth, they only hold us back. Fear arises from our attachment to the past and our anxiety about the future. When we allow ourselves to become consumed by fear, we are living in a prison of our own making, one that keeps us from experiencing life fully. Let's take a moment to understand what fear is. It's a natural response, an instinct designed to keep us safe. But when we let fear control us, we often miss out on opportunities for growth. Think of fear as a storm cloud. While it can feel overwhelming, it's temporary. If we sit with it, it will eventually pass, allowing the sun to shine through again. One effective way to combat fear is through mindfulness. Mindfulness teaches us to observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment. When fear arises, instead of reacting to it or pushing it away, we can acknowledge it. Yes, I feel afraid right now, we can say to ourselves. By simply recognizing our fear, we create space between ourselves and that fear. This space allows us to breathe, think, and respond with clarity rather than panic. Another powerful tool in overcoming fear is acceptance. Accepting that fear is a part of life can help us shift our perspective. Instead of seeing fear as an enemy, we can view it as a teacher. It reveals what matters to us and highlights areas where we can grow. When we approach fear with curiosity rather than resistance, we can transform it into a source of strength. Let's take a look at a simple practice to help us navigate fear. Next time you feel afraid, pause and take a few deep breaths. Inhale slowly through your nose, allowing your belly to rise, and then exhale gently through your mouth. As you breathe, visualize your fear as a wave. With each inhale, imagine the wave building, and with each exhale, imagine it crashing and dissipating. This practice can ground you, helping you find clarity amidst the chaos of fear. You might wonder, what happens when I face my fear? The answer is profound. When we confront our fears, we often find that they are not as frightening as we imagined. Facing fear can lead to moments of vulnerability, which can deepen our connections with ourselves and others. It can also ignite a sense of empowerment. When you realize that you can face challenges, your self-confidence grows. You become more resilient, more adaptable, and more alive. In Buddhism, there's a powerful teaching known as the Four Noble Truths. The first truth acknowledges that suffering exists. Fear is a form of suffering, often stemming from our attachments and desires. The second truth reveals that suffering arises from craving and ignorance. The third truth teaches us that there is a path to the cessation of suffering. The fourth truth outlines the Eightfold Path as a guide for navigating our fears and attachments. Let's reflect on how these teachings relate to fear. The first step is to recognize that fear is part of the human experience. We all encounter fear in various forms throughout our lives. The second step is understanding that our fear often stems from our attachments, our desire for control, security, and certainty. The third step offers hope. We can free ourselves from fear through awareness, acceptance, and action. Consider the story of the Buddha. After years of seeking, he found enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. But his journey was not without fear. He faced the fear of inadequacy, the fear of failure, and the fear of the unknown. Yet, he embraced his fears, transformed them, and ultimately found peace. If the Buddha can face fear and transcend it, so can we. In our lives, fear often manifests in different ways. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of change, or even fear of success. Each fear can feel paralyzing, holding us back from pursuing our dreams. But remember, fear does not define us. It is simply a part of our journey. When we recognize this, we can begin to dismantle its power over us. As we explore our fears, it can be helpful to ask ourselves, what am I truly afraid of? Is it the fear of losing something, the fear of rejection, or the fear of the unknown? By identifying the root of our fear, we can begin to understand it. This understanding is the first step toward dismantling its hold on us. Let's also consider the concept of impermanence, a key teaching in Buddhism. Everything in life is transient, including our fears. Just as clouds drift across the sky, our fears will come and go. When we accept impermanence, we realize that no fear is permanent. This realization can bring us a sense of peace and comfort. When you encounter fear, remind yourself, this too shall pass. Allow yourself to feel the fear without judgment. Sit with it, observe it, notice how it affects your body, your thoughts, and your emotions. With time, you'll learn that fear is not a permanent fixture in your life. It is merely a visitor. As we conclude this part, remember that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to act despite fear. Every time you choose to step forward in the face of fear, you reclaim your power. You are not alone in this journey. We all share in the experience of fear and the quest for courage. Embrace it, learn from it, and let it guide you toward a more fulfilled and authentic life. Deleting ego, rediscovering humility and inner peace. Imagine standing on the edge of a vast mountain, gazing at the endless horizon. The wind brushes against your skin, whispering secrets of the universe. In that moment, do you feel small? Or do you feel like the center of the world? This feeling of being significant, of standing tall, is often rooted in our ego. But what if I told you that true peace comes not from standing tall, but from embracing our smallness? Ego is a tricky thing. It tells us who we are, how we should behave, and what we should achieve. It's like a voice that constantly demands attention, wanting us to prove our worth to ourselves and others. It convinces us that our accomplishments, our possessions, and even our opinions define us. But in reality, ego can cloud our vision and lead us away from the truth of who we are. Buddhism teaches us that ego is an illusion. It creates a sense of separation between ourselves and the world around us. When we cling to our ego, we see ourselves as separate beings, disconnected from others and the universe. This separation leads to fear, competition, and suffering. But when we let go of the ego, we begin to see the interconnectedness of all beings. We realize that we are not just individuals. We are part of a larger tapestry of life. Let's take a moment to reflect on this. Have you ever felt superior or inferior to someone else? That feeling comes from the ego. It thrives on comparison. It wants to create hierarchies and labels. But in doing so, it limits our potential for love and understanding. When we can quiet the ego, we open ourselves up to a world of compassion and connection. We start to see others not as rivals, but as fellow travelers on this journey of life. The practice of humility is essential in this process. Humility allows us to acknowledge our limitations and imperfections. It helps us recognize that we don't have all the answers and that it's okay to be vulnerable. In a world that often values power and success, humility may seem like a weakness. But in reality, it is a profound strength. It takes courage to admit that we don't know everything and to seek help when needed. Letting go of ego doesn't mean losing our sense of self. It means shifting our focus from a self-centered perspective to a more expansive view. We start to value our experiences, our thoughts, and our emotions without allowing them to define us. We become observers of our own lives rather than the main characters seeking validation. Think of a bird in the sky. It soars high, unburdened by the weight of its ego. It flies freely, enjoying the beauty of the world around it. Now imagine if that bird began to compare itself to other birds, worrying about how it looks or how high it can fly. Its flight would become limited and anxious. But when it embraces its true nature, it can glide effortlessly through the air. This is what happens when we let go of ego. We rediscover our innate freedom. In daily life, we can practice this letting go in simple ways. Next time you find yourself in a conversation, try to listen more than you speak. Allow others to share their thoughts and experiences without feeling the need to interject your own. Notice how this shift in focus opens up a space for connection and understanding. You'll find that when you stop striving to be heard, you begin to truly hear others. Meditation can also be a powerful tool in quieting the ego. When we sit in silence and observe our thoughts, we can see the ego for what it is, a collection of stories and beliefs we've constructed over time. Instead of identifying with these thoughts, we learn to watch them pass by like clouds in the sky. This practice helps us cultivate a sense of detachment from the ego and a deeper understanding of our true selves. Another effective practice is to engage in acts of kindness without expecting anything in return. When we give selflessly, we shift the focus away from ourselves and our ego. We start to recognize the joy that comes from helping others, and in turn, we feel a sense of connection that transcends our individual identities. This connection is a reminder that we are all part of something greater than ourselves. As we continue to let go of our ego, we also begin to experience more inner peace. The constant chatter of self-doubt, comparison, and ambition quiets down. We start to find contentment in the present moment, no longer chasing after external validation or success. Instead, we learn to appreciate the simple joys of life, like a warm cup of tea, the sound of laughter, or the beauty of nature. In the end, deleting the ego is not about erasing our identity. It's about understanding it in a deeper way. It's about letting go of the need to define ourselves through external markers and embracing our essence as beings of love, compassion, and connection. It's a journey of rediscovering who we are at our core, free from the confines of societal expectations and self-imposed limitations. So, take a moment to pause and breathe. Allow the stillness to settle within you. As you navigate your daily life, remind yourself that true peace comes from within. By embracing humility and releasing the grip of ego, you can step into a world where connection, compassion, and love thrive. The journey may not always be easy, but with each step, you move closer to the beautiful truth of your existence. A truth that is not defined by ego, but by the simple, profound joy of being alive. Shedding material obsession. The joy of simplicity. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in the endless pursuit of material things. We often believe that owning more will bring us happiness, but in reality, the opposite can be true. The more we possess, the heavier the burden we carry. Imagine a life where you're not defined by your belongings, but by your experiences, your relationships, and your inner peace. This is the joy of simplicity, and it begins with shedding our obsession with material things. Let's take a moment to reflect on what we truly need. Have you ever found yourself buying something just because it was on sale? Because everyone else had it? We fill our homes with items that lose their value the moment we take them out of the store. In Buddhism, this attachment to possessions is known as upadana, which translates to grasping. It's this grasping that leads to suffering. When we let go of our obsession with material wealth, we open ourselves to a deeper, more fulfilling life. Consider a small room filled to the brim with furniture and boxes. It's cluttered, chaotic, and hard to move around in. Now, imagine the same room stripped down to only a few essential items. It feels lighter, more open, and free. This analogy reflects our minds when we're filled with material desires. The clutter of possessions can cloud our thoughts, making it difficult to find peace and clarity. Simplicity is about making conscious choices. It's not about deprivation. It's about understanding what truly adds value to your life. What do you find joy in? Is it the latest gadget, or is it the laughter shared with friends over a simple meal? When you focus on experiences rather than things, you cultivate a richer, more satisfying life. Let's explore how we can begin this process of shedding material obsession. Start by evaluating your possessions. Go through your belongings and ask yourself, does this bring me joy? Does it serve a purpose in my life? If the answer is no, consider letting it go. This doesn't have to be a dramatic event. You can donate, sell, or simply discard items that no longer align with who you are. As you declutter, notice how you feel. Many people find a sense of relief and freedom when they let go of things they've been holding onto for too long. This process can be therapeutic. It's a reminder that our value doesn't come from what we own, but from who we are. Each item we release is a step towards living a simpler, more intentional life. In Buddhist teachings, the concept of non-attachment is fundamental. It doesn't mean we can't enjoy things. It means we shouldn't let our happiness depend on them. The joy of simplicity allows us to appreciate what we have without being tied to the desire for more. When we embrace non-attachment, we find that happiness is already within us, unencumbered by material possessions. Another powerful practice is the idea of mindfulness in consumption. Before making a purchase, pause and reflect. Ask yourself if the item will truly enhance your life. Will it add to your happiness, or will it simply become another object to dust? By practicing mindfulness, you can become more aware of your habits and make choices that align with your values. Consider the concept of living with less. This doesn't just apply to physical possessions, but also to our digital lives. We often accumulate countless apps, emails, and social media connections that clutter our minds. Take time to declutter your digital space, too. Unsubscribe from emails that no longer interest you, delete apps that you don't use, and limit your social media interactions. By simplifying your digital life, you create more mental space for what truly matters. As you journey towards simplicity, you might encounter resistance. Society often equates success with wealth and possessions, but true wealth lies in our experiences and relationships. Surround yourself with like-minded individuals who appreciate the value of simplicity. Share your journey with them and inspire each other to live more intentionally. Imagine waking up in a home that feels calm and inviting, free from clutter. Picture yourself spending time with loved ones, enjoying the moment without the distraction of material desires. This is the essence of a simple life. A life where you are present and fully engaged with what truly matters. In your quest for simplicity, remember to celebrate your progress. Each step you take towards shedding material obsession is a victory. Acknowledge the freedom that comes with letting go. With each item released, you create space for new experiences, relationships, and opportunities to flourish. As we conclude this exploration of shedding material obsession, reflect on the lessons you've learned. Simplicity is a journey, not a destination. Embrace it with an open heart and mind. Allow yourself to find joy in less, and you may discover that you have more than you ever imagined. The true essence of life lies not in what we own, but in how we choose to live and connect with the world around us. Let this be your invitation to step into a simpler, more fulfilling life where your happiness is defined not by your possessions, but by the richness of your experiences and the depth of your connections. Remember, you are enough, just as you are, without the weight of material obsession holding you back. Dissolving the illusion of time, living fully in the present. Time, as we know it, can often feel like a relentless current, pulling us along whether we're ready or not. We rush from one task to the next, often preoccupied with what's ahead or weighed down by what's behind. But what if I told you that much of our suffering stems from our relationship with time? In Buddhism, we learn that clinging to the past or worrying about the future can rob us of the beauty of the present moment. Let's explore how we can dissolve this illusion of time and learn to live fully in the now. To start, consider this. How many times have you found yourself lost in thought, reliving a past mistake or worrying about an upcoming event? These thoughts can create a cycle of anxiety and regret, keeping us from experiencing life as it unfolds. The truth is, the past is gone, and the future is yet to come. The only time we truly have is now. This present moment is where life happens, where joy can be found, and where peace resides. In Zen teachings, we often hear the phrase, "Be here now." This simple reminder emphasizes the importance of presence. When we anchor ourselves in the present, we can appreciate the world around us, feel our emotions deeply, and connect with others more authentically. It's easy to get caught up in our thoughts, but practicing mindfulness can help us bring our attention back to the here and now. One of the first steps to living fully in the present is to cultivate mindfulness. Mindfulness is about paying attention to what is happening in this moment without judgment. It involves observing our thoughts, feelings, and sensations with curiosity rather than criticism. When we practice mindfulness, we train our minds to focus on what's real and immediate, rather than getting lost in distractions. You can start practicing mindfulness by taking a few moments each day to focus on your breath. Find a quiet space, close your eyes, and take a few deep breaths. Feel the air filling your lungs and the sensation of your breath leaving your body. If your mind wanders to thoughts about the past or future, gently guide it back to your breath. This simple practice can help ground you in the present and remind you of the beauty of now. Another way to dissolve the illusion of time is to engage fully in your daily activities. Whether you're eating, walking, or even washing dishes, try to immerse yourself completely in that moment. Notice the colors, smells, sounds, and sensations around you. By giving your full attention to each task, you'll find that life becomes richer and more vibrant. Each moment becomes an opportunity for connection and awareness. Buddhism also teaches us about impermanence, the understanding that everything is constantly changing. This includes our thoughts and feelings, as well as the world around us. When we recognize that nothing lasts forever, we can let go of our attachments to moments gone by or expectations for the future. Embracing impermanence allows us to appreciate life's fleeting beauty and encourages us to make the most of each moment. We often think of time as a linear progression, where we move from one moment to the next in a straight line. But what if we viewed time as a series of interconnected moments? Each moment is not isolated but part of a larger tapestry of existence. By understanding this interconnectedness, we can begin to see how our actions and thoughts impact our experiences and the world around us. Let's consider a simple example. Imagine you're walking in a park. If your mind is preoccupied with thoughts about tomorrow's meeting, you might miss the laughter of children playing, the vibrant colors of the flowers, or the warmth of the sun on your face. But when you focus on the present, you can fully experience these moments and appreciate the beauty around you. You become part of the flow of life rather than a spectator. Living fully in the present also means embracing our emotions as they arise. Many of us tend to suppress feelings of sadness, anger, or anxiety, fearing they'll overwhelm us. But in reality, allowing ourselves to feel these emotions without judgment can lead to healing and clarity. When we acknowledge our feelings in the present, we free ourselves from the weight of carrying them into the future. Remember, the present moment is not always perfect. Life is filled with ups and downs, joy and sorrow. However, by accepting each moment as it comes, we can cultivate resilience and adaptability. We learn to navigate challenges with grace and appreciate the moments of happiness that arise. In this way, we find freedom in the present. Additionally, let's explore the role of gratitude in living fully in the present. When we take the time to appreciate what we have, our relationships, our experiences, even the simple things like a warm cup of tea, we shift our focus away from what we lack. Gratitude anchors us in the now and reminds us of the abundance present in our lives. Each moment becomes a source of joy and contentment. As we work to dissolve the illusion of time, it's essential to recognize that each day is a gift. The more we embrace the present, the more we can live with intention and purpose. Each moment is an opportunity to learn, grow, and connect with ourselves and others. Let go of the need to rush through life and savor the experiences that unfold before you. Lastly, as you journey toward living in the present, be patient with yourself. This practice takes time and dedication. There will be days when your mind wanders, or when the weight of past regrets feels heavy. That's okay. Gently guide your thoughts back to the present, and remember that each moment is a new opportunity to begin again. In conclusion, dissolving the illusion of time invites us to step into the fullness of life as it is. By practicing mindfulness, embracing impermanence, and cultivating gratitude, we can learn to appreciate the beauty of the present moment. The past is gone, the future is uncertain, but right now, this moment is a precious gift. Embrace it fully and discover the freedom that comes with living in the now. The silent path to inner peace and freedom. As we reach the final part of our journey together, let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've learned. The path to inner peace and freedom isn't always easy, but it is a path worth taking. We've discussed the many things we must delete from our lives in silence. Each lesson brings us closer to understanding what it means to live a life of clarity and purpose. We began by recognizing the heavy burdens we carry: negative thoughts, attachments, toxic relationships, and the desire for control. Each of these weighs us down, much like a backpack filled with rocks, making it hard to move forward. The beauty of silence is that it offers us the space to unpack this backpack, one rock at a time, allowing us to feel lighter and more alive. In silence, we discover the strength to let go of negative thoughts. These thoughts often replay in our minds, trapping us in cycles of worry and anxiety. But remember, thoughts are just that, thoughts. They do not define us. By practicing mindfulness, we learn to observe these thoughts without becoming entangled in them. This practice opens a doorway to freedom, where we can choose to focus on the present moment rather than getting lost in the past or future. We also explore the importance of releasing attachments. In Buddhism, attachment is seen as one of the root causes of suffering. When we cling to people, outcomes, or possessions, we create a barrier between ourselves and the present. Letting go of these attachments doesn't mean we stop caring. Instead, it allows us to love more freely and openly. When we release our grip on the things we cannot control, we create space for new experiences, relationships, and growth. Toxic relationships can be among the hardest things to let go of. We may feel obligated to maintain these connections, fearing loneliness or conflict. But silence teaches us that it's okay to distance ourselves from those who do not contribute positively to our lives. Surrounding ourselves with those who uplift us fosters a nurturing environment where we can thrive. Remember, it's not about cutting ties harshly. It's about making choices that honor our well-being. We've also discussed the desire for control. In our fast-paced world, we often cling to the illusion that we can control everything. But life is inherently unpredictable. Embracing uncertainty can be liberating. When we allow life to unfold naturally, we find that it often leads us to places we never expected, places filled with beauty, joy, and discovery. In silence, we can learn to trust this process, knowing that everything unfolds in its own time. Another significant theme we explored is the importance of letting go of resentment. Holding on to grudges only serves to anchor us in negativity. In silence, we can find the courage to forgive, not for the sake of others, but for our own peace. Forgiveness is a powerful act of self-liberation. It allows us to release the chains of the past and step into a brighter, more hopeful future. Abandoning fear was another crucial step on our journey. Fear often acts as a barrier to our true potential. It keeps us stuck in comfort zones, preventing us from pursuing our passions and dreams. In moments of silence, we can confront our fears and recognize them for what they are: simply thoughts, not truths. As we acknowledge our fears, we can gradually learn to step beyond them, finding courage in our vulnerability. We also touched on the importance of dissolving the ego. Our ego often creates a false sense of self, filled with comparisons and judgments. It whispers to us that we need to be better, smarter, or richer to be worthy. But in silence, we discover our true selves, beyond the ego. We realize that we are enough just as we are. This understanding fosters a deep sense of inner peace and connection with the world around us. The journey towards shedding material obsession is also significant. In a world driven by consumerism, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that happiness comes from possessions. But true contentment comes from within. Silence invites us to reflect on what truly matters: relationships, experiences, and inner peace. As we let go of our attachment to things, we open ourselves up to a more meaningful existence. We explored the illusion of time and the importance of living fully in the present. So often, we find ourselves caught up in regrets about the past or worries about the future. But silence brings us back to now. Each moment is a gift, an opportunity to experience life fully. When we practice mindfulness, we learn to savor these moments, creating a rich tapestry of experiences that nourish our souls. Lastly, we delved into breaking free from comparison. In a world saturated with social media, it's easy to measure our worth against others. But silence teaches us that everyone's journey is unique. When we release the need to compare, we find joy in our individuality. We can celebrate our accomplishments, no matter how small, and honor our unique paths. As we conclude this exploration, remember that the journey to inner peace and freedom is ongoing. It requires patience, practice, and kindness towards ourselves. Embrace the silence as a powerful tool on this journey. In silence, we find clarity, understanding, and the courage to let go of what no longer serves us. Thank you for joining us on this transformative journey through Wisdom Woven. We hope you've gained valuable insights to help you on your path to inner peace. Remember, the power to let go and embrace life's beauty lies within you. As you move forward, carry the lessons of this journey with you, and continue to explore the silent spaces within your heart and mind. If you found value in this series, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue sharing these insights with others seeking peace and wisdom. Until next time, may your path be filled with light, love, and silence that guides you toward inner freedom.